God is moving. It's Young People Nation.
Welcome to Young People Nation. Listen to us weekly as we commit to bring transparency, healing, and truth to the everyday situations in life that might bring you down. Join us for your weekly dose of inspiration. Thank you for listening to Young People Nation. Make sure you subscribe so you never miss an episode. And now, here's your host, Eugene and Donna Perry.
Let's go. Christ is the foundation. Know his word gon' lead us. Know I'm already going. Taking steps I believe in. Giving guidance to the youth. Giving guidance to the lost. Give the world to the project. Lead them back to the cross.
Good day, good afternoon, and welcome to Young People Nation. And we'd like to give a shout out to all our sponsors and supporters and the community who have helped us along this journey. We have been doing this for 1 year as of July.
All right.
And so we're excited that God has graced us to do this, and the community that has supported us in that. And we just want to say thank you. Thank you so much. Now, today, we have a extremely intelligent young man. You never know what a person is packing until you sit down and talk with them. Now, we've been knowing this young man since he was like 10, 11?
Probably.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. And
About
so
right.
now he is 22.
22. Yes, ma'am.
Now, his name is Jonathan Barnes, and Jonathan is a storyteller through music, a future businessman, a middle child, which you know the middle children, they give it to you if you ask for it, right? And he's a protector and he's an encourager, but most importantly, Jonathan is a God-fearing young man who wants to bring the brighter side out of the of adults, young adults, and youth around him. Welcome, Jonathan Barnes.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Okay, well, we're going to get on into this. And what we're going to talk about in this session is the young Jonathan Barnes, where it all started between the ages of 3 and 6. Now,
ma'am.
you talked to us about being bullied. And what did that look like for you?
Well, that bullying for me looked very violent, physical, targeted. Yes. Some situations I wasn't even able to play on the playground because of the fact if I wanted to have my chips on the playground and these kids who would beat me up constantly for my chips and take them. Unlike other children who were able to still play on the playground and have their food because they weren't being bullied, if I wanted my snacks, I had to eat in the teacher's lounge and miss out on recess, while other children were able to bully me and still have recess instead of them being punished, and having to miss out on recess for beating me up on the playground or whatever it might be.
Wow.
Things like that.
Yeah, and this is the thing that we want parents to understand. Sometimes this starts all the way back when you was 3, 4 years old.
Right. Yes, ma'am.
And how different traumas, different events in a young person's life is stacked on top of each other.
Yes,
And so this was the 3-year-old Jonathan. And so being bullied, you didn't feel you had an escape. You just had to just remove yourself from the situation?
In a way, that perfectly describes how I felt. Not necessarily that I had to remove myself from the situation, but me not having an escape. That definitely describes how I felt in that time frame. And then I ran across my friend who got bullied with me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, one of those days, and that became my first friend. So that was, in a way, an outlet or an escape from the thoughts within my head, I guess. Make me feel weird, like I'm getting bullied because I'm different or whatever it might be.
That's one of the mistakes that parents make from a young age. They believe that the young child would get over it. They won't remember it as they get older and all. I personally, I remember myself, believe it or not, back at those ages, and I was a fat kid. I was 100 100 pounds in the first grade, and I couldn't walk straight. I kind of wallowed to the side and all 'cause I was so big, and they always call you, used to call me names and stuff like that, fat boy and all like that. And then if I trip and fall, I was the laughter of the class, and so you had to become the class clown to kind of hide, to kind of like be accepted. Yeah, I can identify with that. And young kids, you need to take them seriously because they remember everything years later.
Yep.
Years later.
Yes.
Yes, indeed.
I like what he just said. In order to mask it, he had to become the class clown.
Right.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow. So what that says, sometimes the class clown has a whole another situation going on internally. Am I correct?
Correct.
Wow.
Even then, you can be in conflict because that class clown will be in there making A's and making good grades. So the parents don't think nothing different because, hey, he makes A's and all like that, but inside he's dying.
Wow.
He's hurting.
Yep, he's hurting.
He's feels the hurt and the frustration and all. That's why they become bookworms, so to speak. They wear the glasses and all, and look the part, but they're hurting because deep inside there's a person there. And nowadays, unfortunately, you have more access to information through the internet, and more access to adult tools such as guns, weapons, knives. It's easier for kids to get it now, even at a young age.
It's guns now. Yes, guns. Straight up. Correct?
Correct.
Now, Jonathan, you talked about also about you had a friend that came on along with you that got bullied, so it felt like you weren't alone in that process, of course.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, we're going to keep on going along between this age of 3 and 6. And you talked to us about the experience, your journey of experiencing the death of a close friend.
Right.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
so let's talk about that.
Yeah, that friend who came along and alleviated me of a lot of those stresses from being bullied is the friend I'm talking about who died, who passed away at that young age. We were in kindergarten, probably 5 years old. And like I said, the most conflicting thing about his passing on, or whatever we might call it, was the fact that our last memory, we're arguing and I'm picking at your insecurities, all because of a wrong that I did, right? I erased the names off the board, and he ends up coming forth, letting it be known it was me. I start calling him little boy, little boy, little boy. He tells me to stop. I keep calling him little boy up until the point he cries, So he gets called home early that day from school. And as we're switching, going to our music class, I tell my teacher, I said, I want to go apologize to him. So she tries to rush me up to the front of the school real quick, and right when we get to the front, you're seeing his mom's van driving off. She's like, oh, it's all right, John, you'll be able to tell him next time. And he literally never came back. He never came back to school. And that molded me in the sense of becoming more humble and being able to put your pride to the side in times when you've done wrong or said something wrong to hurt someone. Apologize as soon as you can, because life is unexpected.
And did you ever see him again?
I never did. He never came back. He literally died whichever day after the day he left. That next week within school, we used to have the morning show. And before the morning show started, they came over the intercom and let it be announced that he passed away, and we had a moment of silence for him. And even then, I didn't really know what happened, that he was dead and gone. All the way up until my mom ended up having to break it down for me, some months down the line. But I didn't process it at first.
But in that circumstances, their parents have to be aware of your child's feelings and what they're going through. They do not process the way adult would.
That's right.
Because with them, it's either yes or no, and all in between. Their mind is study working on solutions. Their mind is study working on different ways to accept the concept of death, because the last sight that they see, or the last sentence that they experience, it lasts a lifetime. It shapes their life. It gives them nightmares at night. It gives them the process of what's right and what's wrong. And therefore, their whole landscape, foundation in life is being shaped right then and there. We can't just take that for granted. Because I remember in my situation, a young friend of mine died, and then I was forced to go to the funeral, and my last sight of him was laying in the coffin.
Wow!
But nobody explained where he was going. And as a young child, you see your best friend laying in the coffin, and they close the lid. The first thing in my mind was, how is he gonna breathe? How is he gonna eat? Because I did not understand the concept of death, and therefore the nightmares, the wedding on the bed, the dreams at night of him coming to talk to me, and all. Because back then we didn't have a psychiatrist. We did not have the person to come there and say anything to you of comfort and all. The pastor was like, over yonder, over the hill. Okay, what's over the hill, pastor? I didn't have the privilege to come talk to an adult like that. They have a concept. They were like, okay, you get ready to go to school tomorrow. Hey, what? He just went over the hill. What's going on?
Yeah, and that's the thing with generations, because now we have therapy. And so I believe they had it back then, but that just was taboo.
Yeah,
exactly.
Couldn't afford it.
However, now at your stage, Jonathan, now you're looking at mental health and depression, like what my husband was just talking about. And so for you at that age, talk about that. Let the audience know what we're talking about between 3 and 6 now.
Right.
Okay. You can look back and say, I was dealing with depression.
Definitely. We had a trampoline in the backyard that we would all get on and jump, have our little boy fun and all that. My younger brother, myself, next door neighbor, and a few other kids that stayed in the neighborhood. And I noticed, before Gabe's death and before being, how could I say, educated on the true concept of death, like, okay, no, he's not just going on vacation. At first, that's how it was served to me. It's a vacation, a long vacation. You'll see him again. But then I had to get the real hot, steaming plate served to me. Like, your friend isn't coming back right now, and you really are going to not see him for a long, long time. When people die, they go back to where they have come from. Their spirit goes back to where they came from. And it sets in, you think about the couple of funerals, you could have attended. My great-grandmother, I remember her last birthday party. I was probably around 3 years old, and we were at a nursing home, and there we had sung the "Isn't She Lovely, Isn't She Wonderful" to her, right? And then after having death broken down to me, I could hear that song as that young child, 4 to 5 years old, and it made me cry because I know, wow, Mama Noni is not coming back. And Gabe, when I'm jumping on the trampoline with my brother or my next door neighbor and the other little kids, everybody else is having fun, and I just be in this sad, depressive state, and sometimes will cry because I'm looking at my little brother thinking, one day you're going to die. Like, one day my friend, my next door neighbor is going to die, and then you don't know when. It's not like they're all going to make it up to where my Mama Noni, my great-grandmother, made it to 98 years old. So, yes, she died at 98 years old, but Gabe, you died at 5.
Wow.
You see, so death is literally unexpected, and I had to process that and gain a hold of that concept very young. So it set in a heavy depression because you have to accept life. Real life is now right in front of you. Yeah.
And so did you, and of course, you know, sometimes what was some of your ways to resolve that even as between 3 and 6, you know, because if your community doesn't recognize that's a challenge, you have to come to some conclusions yourself.
Right.
So thank God you didn't come to the conclusion to end it yourself. Because that happens.
Yes, it does. It does.
And so what's some of the tools you just happen to use during that process?
During that time, I didn't really have any tools that I knew I could use except for holding in the emotions, like putting up a wall to hide the emotions. So for those moments where I might be on the trampoline, fighting tears, literally, like that's all I could do. That'd be my solution, really, like try to hold back the tears, or like I might go inside the house real quick and just go cry in like the dining room or the kitchen. That was the closest door or room to the back door where the trampoline was. So I might just come inside and go cry real quick and then come back out, you know, something like that. But I didn't really have a solution that, or a comfort that I could use. I had one friend I met that ended up coming to the school slightly later in the school year, and he ended up becoming a good confidant for me. And a good resource when it came down to like not allowing me to be alone in those times.
Okay.
Because when Gabe passed, he was around for that as well. So he knew, I guess he had to be there for me.
And to the parents, it's not that his parents weren't present, because his parents were very present. However, my husband and I made that mistake as well, that sometimes you're so busy that you don't even see. Am I right, honey?
Well, you don't really consider the concept because being that I was in the military and all that, I was kind of in the now because of the profession that I had. Death came at any time, and you were always put in a situation, combat situation, where life and death was like going down to the bar and drinking a beer. You know, it became you were numbified to it as a normal way of life. And with a small kid and all, you never picture them having to mask. And with that masking comes everything else. Where is the real root of that child concept of life? All right, you at a young age when they experience death, do they view it? They don't view it as the goldfish going down the toilet bowl thing. They view it as, how can I join my friend, or how can I join my grandmama? I can't wait to see them.
Yes.
So I'm going to see them this weekend. That's the way they think.
You all just said the same thing. There you go. Okay.
You remember my cousin? You remember my cousin, the little girl, when she made a conversation with the tape recorder?
Yes.
And she made some recordings of herself, and then she was having a conversation with herself through the tape. And she actually picked up her bags and she was heading out the door. And they said, "Where you going?" I'm going to see my friend.
Yes.
Her make believe world, she was heading out the door with a suitcase.
And we're gonna be talking about that too, you know, because it becomes imaginary for you.
Right.
Yes.
Am I right? Okay. So, you know, Jonathan, at this stage, what would you tell parents is the importance of being approachable at the 3 to 6 year old Jonathan? You know, because a lot of times we can go back and we could be like, man, actually, I could have said that to my parents, or I could have said it to this person. I didn't know. So what would you say is the importance?
The importance of parents being approachable would be making sure you lend a true listening ear, because while you're passively listening, I don't want to say actively listening. While you are passively listening, you could be listening but be looking at your phone, or you could be listening but looking at TV at the same time. You're not gaining a true understanding on what the child may be saying to you.
Okay.
A lot of parents need to understand where, shoot, you may have, let's say you've been violated in your life, where you may have been violated at the age of 14, 12, 16, or even as a fully grown adult. You have children out in this world who go through violating experiences between the ages of 3 to 6, you know, and when this child is trying to let you all know what experience they have went through, or what quote unquote games they used to play with whatever person it is that could have violated them, whole time it's flying straight over your heads, because you're not even imagining a child this young probably having to go through something of that sort, you know. So a lot of times I say parents should take themselves out of equations and listen to the problem that the child is presenting to you, because the child isn't coming to you with the problem already having you in this math equation. You know, it's coming to you with the problem looking for a solution.
Yes.
You see, so
Protection.
that part
Am I
being
right?
said, exactly, protection, and a confidant. Once again, you know, someone that the child can confide in. So when this child's coming with these problems, it already has 2 times 4. You see, or 2 times 6. But he needs you to say, all right, this equals 8, or this equals 12.
Okay.
That's all it needs. It needs an answer.
That's
not,
good right there.
why are you asking me what 2 times 4 is when you ain't even learned 1 plus 1? You know, you don't know just how advanced this child has had to progress in life, or what advanced circumstances this child has run across in life.
Yes.
You know, to end up posing those questions for this child.
And I like what you said about when your child or anyone is talking and you're on your phone or you're looking at TV, that means that person does not have your full attention.
Exactly.
So for parents out there, even myself, I had to learn that, is that if one of my daughters or my husband come and talk with me, or someone come and talk with me, whatever I'm doing, I have to put that aside. And I have to be looking at them straight in the eye. And they know they have my full attention. Therefore, they're able to be transparent.
Yes, ma'am.
But if I'm typing on the computer, I'm scrolling through my phone while you're talking to me, you're like, oh, they're not really in tune with me. They hear me, but they're not listening.
Yes, ma'am.
But you know, you always talk about different concepts here, because you, in the modern day society, you have single parents, and which may be working 2 jobs. So the parent trying to find time out of their busy life to put on their parent hat and be sensitive to your child need. It's a whole different topic, because that single parent is fighting the emotions of being left behind themselves, or didn't have that mother or father, but they have to give that to their child.
Yes.
So it's a complicated hat there.
Yeah.
And then it's the pressures from everyday society of the church, and the pressures of the job, the pressures of everyday life, because they can't even take care of themselves. That's why young ladies, you really have to consider your life with that person you get ready to hook up with. Because
that's a nugget there.
that is going to determine your future.
And
Don't
their
live
child's.
under that.
And their child's.
Yes. Don't live under that concept of what they teach that once you get married, everything will be perfect. You're gonna have a little house on the hill, and the mommy and daddy, you're gonna play that just like the
white
little
picket
girls
fence,
play,
yeah.
white picket fence and all
Yeah.
that. Life isn't like that.
That's right.
Cause the next turn you on the cliff, and there's no calorie coming across the hill to save you.
That's good.
It's just you, and you might be on the street. You might be in a shelter. You might be living in your car, and people will walk by you every day on their way to the next concept in their life. You can become a forgotten person.
That we even talked about that earlier today. How it's important for the community to be pay attention.
Right.
Yep.
You know, just like we haven't talked to you in about 4 or 5 years.
Yes,
but
ma'am.
but you came up in our spirit, and it's like, okay. And then we went and had dinner, and it's like we never missed a beat. Am I
Yes,
correct?
ma'am.
And so we're grateful that we were able to be a platform, and really God bless you with us and us with you, and we're vibing off each other, and we're just growing in this because you really helped us to learn some things about even our young people. Okay, well, thank you, Jonathan.
Yes, ma'am.
And we got 3 more sessions with Jonathan. So you all stay tuned, because this young man, just talking with him, you just gain so much wisdom. You never know what a person is packing until you give them your attention. And thank you for sharing that 3 to 6 year old. And parents, please pay attention to your children in this process. Correct?
Yes, correct.
All right. Well, we always like to give out our mental health hotlines. There's a 988 hotline. There's a text 741-741. That's free 24/7 crisis counseling. Also, if you don't know what you need, there is a 211 for general community resources. Okay, Mr. Perry.
Right. Don't be like that negative concept in the Bible that was when the man got beat up and robbed and thrown in the ditch, and people passed them by because they get to their next category in life, but they left the man in the ditch beaten and all. It's so that they could go and won't be late to work, won't be late to church, and then give a helping hand to who needed the help. And your child could be in the same concept. Don't be blind to the facts that they need help too. That's because they're young. Because in life, the only time that life ends is when you give up. And as you go through everyday life, you seek to live the life you want to live, or you just exist. This has been Young People Nation, and remember, there is always hope.
Let's go. Christ is the foundation. Know His word gon' lead us. Know I'm already going. Taking steps I believe in. Giving guidance to the youth. Giving guidance to the lost. Give the world to the project. Lead them back to the cross. He the #1 prospect. He the top boss. I was broke, I was empty. He the one that paid the cost. Really thought that I was cool. There was nothing like the Savior. Now it's time for the truth. The whole world been waiting. It's Young People Nation. 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 The whole world been waiting. Whatever you going through, I know what He gonna do. Don't matter the circumstance, we going back to the root. Keep going. Let that seed keep growing. You need peace and we know it. Now it's time to live holy. Young People Nation. You know what time it is. Young People Nation. Get ready, the time is here. Get ready, we vibing here. We about to let God in here. Young People Nation. It's Young People Nation. Yeah, do it for the heavens, you know where we going. Influenced by His love, you know we gotta show it. It's time to put the youth onto what God is doing. Cause I can tell you now, right now, that God is moving. It's Young People Nation.